So did you wish to speak? And I presume you're speaking as a resident versus a city employee? Name and location for the record.
Steven Meza, I live in District 2. So I just had a few points that I'd like to actually touch on in terms of the actual contract and why I think it is necessary that we actually do a program like this. For one, there's a lack of education in government contracting and procurement within the business community, especially within the small business community, women-owned or minority-owned business community. And we've seen that time and time again where other communities are going out purposely to educate these businesses and to actually introduce them to that process. As a lot of businesses know, when they continue to grow, one of the next steps for them is to go ahead and get into the government contracting and government sector because they know that's where some of the money does rely. For the small businesses, they're not really, focused on actually doing business with the city as well, especially when we're talking about small minority-owned or women-owned businesses, not because they don't want to, but because their main focus within the first 5 years is to make sure that they're surviving at those first 5 years. So I think it would be,
Point of order, Mayor, if I may.
Go ahead.
Through the chair, City Attorney.
Stop.
City Attorney, can you interrupt a speaker?
He has a point of order. He has a question for the city attorney. It's been recognized. What is your question for the city attorney?
The time has stopped, so as soon as I'm able to answer the question, if I can, then the speaker will be able to start back up. Yes, sir.
Is it appropriate for an engagement liaison to speak on behalf of an agenda item? And
Florida law gives the right to every member of the public to speak to any item on any local government issue that's on an agenda. That was an establishment state law, the Florida legislature about 5 or 6 years ago. The speaker, to the extent that he has identified himself as a resident of the city of Tamarac and a member of the public, he has the right to speak like anyone else.
Okay, I was just confused that since he's an engagement liaison to the Vice Mayor.
I believe he's identified himself as a member of the public and as a resident of the city of Tamarac.
Thank you. And if there's any issues, it might be something that could be brought up at a future discussion for policy. Please proceed, Mr. Meza.
Okay, thank you. And my final point is, unlike other neighboring cities, Tamarac currently, that I'm aware of as a resident, of actually engaging the small business community or actually just engaging people within the community who want to start their own business, who want to have a piece of land here in Tamarac to say that they are a part of the community, not only as a resident, but as a business owner. So in all reality, this minority this disparity study would actually behoove of the city to actually get on board with. Not only would we be cultivating a culture within the city, which is the staple, specifically that we want this city to be the city for your life. Whose lives are we specifically talking about? What kind of people are we trying to interest and actually afford the ability to be a part of this community? So this disparity study, I do believe, would be in the interest of the city. It would be not only an interest for the commission to vote on, but I think it would entice a lot of new businesses and get a lot of the old boys to actually start doing what we say capitalism does, which is create competition, create ingenuity. So if this disparity study does that for the city, I see that as being, if anything, more forward thinking and using hindsight as they've done before to actually bring in a lot of new businesses, a lot of new opportunities to a growing diverse community, which is now 50% minority compared to what it was 10 years ago. So I do think the commission should vote in favor of this. And to Mr. Villalobos' point, I have spoke with other engagement liaison, and they do speak with businesses. And I think it's behoove of them to speak on items like this if they're gonna be engagement liaisons for the community. Thank you.
Thank you. And point of clarification, City Attorney, would that last comment be make a concern regarding violation of sunshine law? Just
community liaisons speaking amongst themselves are the equivalent of me speaking to the city manager. It's not a sunshine violation.
Okay, so they can speak to one another about items as long as they don't bring it back to the commission nor the
That is
or
correct. They
person
cannot
that
be
they
used as
represent.
it's a violation of the sunshine law if any employee, period, any employee is used as a conduit for communications regarding an item or items that are or foreseeable to come before this body.
Thank you very much.
Reconsider having a community garden, having the right community engagement, bringing people together, and having our own community garden, which I think would benefit all levels of the community, especially our young people involved. And I'd like to ask Steven Meza if you want to make any comments. You're the leader of some environmental organization?
Forgive me, City Attorney, we don't do presentation, as he's part of your presentation, fine, but if you are asking him as separate, we don't have public participation in the middle of our discussion. So, Mr. Meza, are you here as his liaison? Are you here as part of his presentation as an organization trying to support gardens?
I'm here as an organization.
Then please state your name and organization for the record.
Okay, thank you. Hi, my name is Steven Meza. I'm the president of the Democratic Environmental Caucus of Florida here for the Broward County chapter. And we've actually made this one of our staple initiatives for this year going into next year, where we can at least bring a coalition of cities throughout the county to continue the idea of a community garden and actually expounding upon that and bringing forth this very great initiative that they've done in Coral Springs, where they've done a food forest, some form of urban farming. What we'd like to see and what the caucus would like to commit to this city is knowing that we will be providing resources, fundings, and the volunteers necessary to keep this garden sustainable. In addition to that, we will also be building out this coalition again with other volunteers at other cities so we can pull those resources together. So again, the biggest issue with all community gardens tends to be not only the sustainability, but the upkeep of the property and maintenance of it itself. So we will make sure that that is one of our contributions back to our county, back to our citizens here of Broward County, knowing that they have not only a beautiful area to walk through and to participate in, but that they have the ability to sort through the food inequities that are happening within our developing community. In addition to that, just making sure that we provide those foods and resources back to local, not only food vendors, but as we saw in the pandemic and before the pandemic with the local services that are doing food drives, they have come to a point of scarcity. So we would like to at least supplement that. So cities such as Tamarac, I recently saw the mayor, she offered a proclamation to one of the local faith-based organizations who does a weekly or monthly food drive. And we would like to be able to at least harvest that material and allow them to continue to do that. So it's not just a monthly thing, it's not just a weekly thing, it's year-round, where people know that they can get fresh sourced food from their community and know that there was not only money involved, but there was love and care because the constituents of that community wanted to support one another. Thank you.
Thank you. Are you done with your presentation?
Unless you have time for another video.
No, not really. I don't think yourself included really have time for one more of your videos.
I'm done.